Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I want to thank you for tuning in, listening in, and watching. Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as we give you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., and we stream live at richarddugan.com. But I want to remind you there is also a 9 a.m. Wednesday special edition of Tell Me Your Story. I'm starting to sound like a carnival barker. And if you don't know what that is, Google it, okay? Always remember, though, Abraham Lincoln said, it's historical fact, don't believe everything you see on the internet, all right? We're going to have some fun today because we are going to do everything that we can to bolster, support, reinforce, if you will, your immune system. That's right. This program today is designed to do just that. We are going to be talking with a very special woman who has a wonderful book out, as well as a website, among other books that she's written. Yoga to Support Immunity, Mind, Body, Breathing Guide to Whole Health. That's WHOLE, health. I had my gallbladder removed, and they put 5 holes, HOLE, in me. But you know, that's what they had to do to get that thing out of there, and the gallbladder, the gallstone that was the size of a golf ball. But we're talking about WHOLE, health, and we're talking with the author, Melanie Salvatore, and I've already forgotten the last name, and it's sitting right in front of me. August. It's the month of August is what we're talking. I want to thank you so much for joining us on the program and for providing us with an opportunity to do something that, quite honestly, if the population of the earth had done this 2 years ago, had been working on it 2 years ago, I don't think that we would have lost over 1 million or more human beings on the planet due to the virus and the pandemic. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Richard. You're a delight. I already know. It's delightful to be here with you.
Well, thank you very much. Would you agree, though, that if our immune systems had been fortified the way that they had been intended to be fortified, that these kinds of contagions, because I want to use a broad brushstroke here, contagions, would have maybe little or no effect on us if we'd been taking care of ourselves?
I would love to think that. All I know is that it can only help. It can only help when we are integrated, when our mind and our body and our heart are in sync. And when they are not in sync, I always think of it, in terms of if the right hand is cleaning and the left hand is dirtying, you're not going to get anywhere. So we have to work it together. We are not pieces of a robotic puzzle. We are an integrated being. And I hope that it would make a difference, and we're doing it now. And the yogis have done it for thousands of years.
And when you say integrated being, you're not just talking about the individual human being, because that term could also be used to describe the human race, the human family, that we are integrated with each other, and look at how that has transpired over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Over the last many thousands.
Well,
of years.
certainly, but right, but in terms
yes.
of modern history.
Yes, absolutely. Integrated human family, integration with the environment, instead of being at odds or in competition with, working in harmony. I mean, it's a huge conversation, and I humbly, I'm really offering just my viewpoint from, a human person, mom of 3 kids, and someone who's been practicing and struggling just like everybody else with health issues coming to balance. So big conversations, and yes, it's all true.
Why yoga? I mean, there are so many different modalities out there. I mean, I've interviewed people talking about sound therapy, vibrational therapy, rhythm, light, crystals, vitamins and minerals, supplements, and so forth. I don't know, I'll just throw these out here. Reiki and chiropractic, and then there's the cranial sacral concepts. But you're focusing in on yoga. Why?
Well, I'm leaning in right now and saying yes and.
Okay.
That yoga is all encompassing, that the aspect of yoga, though it's believed to be like, oh, you're going to stretch, you're going to do something. And yes, it can be, but yoga is a state of oneness. So the tools of yoga are many, and it's debatable, but I could say all the tools you mentioned could be tools of yoga when utilized in a way that unites the mind, the body, the breathing, and the heart, the conscious heart, the essential heart, soul, if you will. So any tools can be yogic, and any practice that is aligned with these aspects of your being is yoga. Debatable, but from the classic definition of yoga, yoke to yoke. What are we yoking? Asana is poses. Asana is very helpful. We'll talk about that too.
Sure.
But that is not necessarily yoga. So why yoga? Because for me, it's the modality that helped me shift. So it was the one that made the sense to my spirit. And so because it helped me feel better, I mean, that's the gist, feel good, feel better. I have felt compelled to then share it with others and be like, okay, this is going to be your practice, but this is what happened for me. I hope it's helpful. So I'm here because that's, I also utilize the modality of Reiki and, sound, you can see bowls in my back of me in the room. So many modalities, all good.
Yeah. I have to say that I am very familiar with many of these modalities, I being a Reiki master myself, and utilizing it, try to utilize it as often as I can.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's a part of me that also wants to believe that there are times when I don't really have to do anything consciously, that I have chosen that one particular path among others, and that the energy, when it is, shall we say, called upon, and not necessarily by me, it just flows. It just goes. I don't need to do anything. I can imagine the symbol, and I can call out the word of that symbol, the first symbol, and send it for whatever purpose it is intended for an individual or for a situation, which I found very fascinating, that you could actually use Reiki for a particular situation. I thought that was, it's like, well, wait a minute, but I can understand a person, my father's brother passed away from cancer. But before he did, I sent him absentee healing, which he used that energy to get angry and throw his medication across the room, get in his wheelchair, wheel across the compound where his family lived to his son's house where they had several hours of closure and what have you, and then he passed. Now, that raises the question that I ask all people of the health and wellness, shall we say, profession or vocation. What is healing to you? What is the definition of healing? Because I believe that the energy that we sent to my uncle did just that. And he passed. Not but and.
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing it. Yes, I would say what I hear is natural state, that the natural state of any of us, and you say like you don't need to do anything to share your Reiki. right? To share your energy. Really, it's tuning into a natural state. I feel like yoga is tuning into a natural state. And since we have a tendency to fragment, the mind is very powerful. It fragments us from our human family, from our own being. That we use, it can be helpful for some to use tools to defragment. So what is healing? What is healing to me is the aspect of coming into a unified awareness. And ideally, if you are coming into that unified awareness and there is a sense of peace or a sense of flow, that the body will harmonize, or the mind and heart will all harmonize. Will that mean that your body is perfect and reborn and you lost your arm and you regrew it? I can't speak about that, but I do believe exactly what you said, that there is healing, and that can also mean it's time to move on. That the time was finished and it's time to move on. So
yeah, and that is what I find so fascinating, specifically about traditional orthodox medicine. And I often talk about this from the standpoint that it doesn't know when to say when. It doesn't know when to let go and let nature take its course. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the body is going to discontinue its functioning. Maybe if they disconnect all of this technology, maybe the body will do what's necessary for itself to regenerate, to rejuvenate, to revitalize, to, if you will, resurrect.
Yeah, kind of getting out of the body's way.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're just talking about what's in our own, not that Western medicine is not in our control, or any medicine, of course, that's a collaboration. And I think it's an important collaboration. So my mindset is not like, no medicine outside of my own tools. I think we're stronger together. I love the Warriors, strength in numbers. We're stronger together.
Yes.
Go basketball. But this aspect of that. So in honor that those tools are very helpful, if I bring it down to, again, the individual process of what's happening inside us, when our mind is fragmented and it gets in the way of the body, when the body tells us, the body's not going to lie, when the body says, I'm tired, and we say, shh, one more Netflix show, or whatever, this is a conversation that's happening all the time. Well, we're not listening. And so I feel that is a big part of this. Like, can we get out of the body's way? And can we be not a servant of the body, but a good friend, a good friend of the body. Yeah.
Let's talk about the immune system. I could use a lot of different analogies, I suppose, but let me ask you to describe give us an analogy of what our immune system is, what it does, what it is designed to do, if you will.
So from my non-medical viewpoint, very regular viewpoint, our immune system is to help us be resilient, to help us deal with any invaders, whether that be viral, bacterial, any trauma, and have us ideally be able to recover. And so that resilience, there are some key aspects to the resilience. A very important key is our ability to handle stress. And so the aspect of when we're in a chronic stress response, there's no vitality going towards immune function in our immune system or any of our longevity functions. And for our immune system, the thymus gland, the lymphatic system, right? All these key are the guts is also a big part of the immune system. For everything to work at its optimum level, we have to have a rejuvenation time so we can rebuild or renew. And when we're in a chronic stress response, the energy, our vitality is going towards fleeing whatever we're scared of. And some aspect, from my understanding of our nervous system, is that it is a bit old-fashioned, right? It's about the tiger, right? Is the tiger coming? I have to run from the tiger, or I have to fight the tiger, fight or flight. So it's not taking into consideration chronic stress, like the maybe air pollution, like the ding of our email or the text message that's going off. You know, we're constantly triggered. The aspects of anything that could stress us out. So many of us are in this chronic stress response, so none of our vitality is going towards what's going to carry us beyond the tiger. It's just muscles tense, heart rate fast, giving us the oomph to flee. So a big part of how we work with our immune system and help it be resilient is to relax. And I go into that aspect of yoga because that's where the yogis, and from you know what's been passed on to me and what I've utilized I have 3 children, I have a career, I have a busy home, yet there are tools for a regular person to use. You don't have to be up in the mountain, though the mountain would be nice. But there are regular tools for any of us to help shift our nervous system into that relaxation response. And from that relaxation response, then boost this more complex immune system. But the tools themselves actually are not that complex, right?
They're not that complex. It's not like you having to use a protractor. Oh, you just need a hammer and maybe a screwdriver and a wrench. That's all you need.
When you hear that, like, take a deep breath, and you're like, yeah, whatever, take a deep breath.
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
I did.
Yeah. Yes. And there are these aspects. So first of all, you went right through your nose. You're so good, Richard. You went. Okay. So we breathe through the nose. It goes through the sinuses. It goes down and expands the diaphragm. Okay. So now we're in maybe boring anatomy. I won't stay too long.
That's okay.
But this aspect of anatomy, you create a chemical release in the body by going through the nostrils and going through the sinuses. It's called nitric oxide. You begin to create this that then expands all the capillaries. It opens up the lungs, your oxygen system with your blood. So first, we take this and we get this chemical release. And then as we breathe into the belly, which sometimes it needs to be retrained, we breathe and we open the back of the lungs. And that is near what's called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is our key relaxation. It's a weaving nerve that's like a vagabond. That's why it's called vagus, all the way through your internal organs. So if you stimulate and you tone that nerve, then you can access almost like a button. I'm stressed. Now I'm going to relax. And so very simple. It's a deep breath. But if you know how to do it with a certain refinement and you believe, intention, belief, and you kind of started out with that here. It's like, I believe. If you believe that it is effective, you will do it. And if you do it and your mind's on board, then there's other reciprocal and cumulative effects of that will also enhance your immune system, which I'm happy to go into, but it could be a little boring.
Well, we can't talk about that because I think it's important. But right now, I'm going to do my best to get out of the lotus position here as we continue talking with. We're talking with Melanie Salvatore-August. We're talking about the work that she's doing with yoga and helping us to improve and boost our immune system here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I'm glad that you've joined us. We're talking about. I want to talk about the positions, but you touched upon something that triggered in my mind that aspect of a particular philosophy that I'm going to say I grew up with, not just as a kid growing up, watching my mother, watching public television and doing, along with what was going on the screen, hatha yoga. Okay, as well as Jack LaLanne. My mom, she really would watch Jack and do the exercises. She had 6 kids to raise. You think you got problems? Hey, she had 6 problems. She wouldn't consider them problems, I know. But the thing is, what you brought to my mind as an early metaphysician of 17, from my metaphysical primer, Autobiography of a Yogi, you started talking about the spine. And what sprang to mind was, of course, as you probably already know, the spinal energy related to Kundalini, the Kundalini energy. And it goes by all kinds of different names depending upon what philosophy you happen to follow. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we start getting into the issue of positions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm not necessarily, I don't know if this is, the more popular, we hear this all the time. We're going to do the downward dog now, and we're going to, and you hear all of the different types of positions. And I don't know if that's, they just gave it a name because they couldn't pronounce maybe the Hindu or Indian name. I don't know if that's a real valid pose or position, but I'm just curious. I know that, for example, with chakras, there are more than 7 of those energy centers. There are the 7 that run up and down the center of the body. But as I read the book Joy's Way, I found out, oh my God, there are chakra centers in all of the joints. And even between the joints, in the arms and the legs and the torso. They're all over the place, They're minor, circuits, but they're still there. Mm-hmm. So when we start talking about a position, and I know that there isn't one optimal position. I get that, because every position is going to serve maybe a different purpose. Mm-hmm. Can we talk about not just position, but maybe even movement? Because then it takes me into what I learned about Tai Chi. I remember my first experience. I was there with a group of people. They had the music going, and I was trying to follow everyone else. I'd never done it before. And, of course, I found out Tai Chi is nothing more than playing with an invisible ball, And the instructor came up to me and he says, stop. He's told me to stop. He says, don't try to follow the other people. Just move with the music. Wherever the music takes you, just move. Don't worry about the positions. And over time, I did learn the positions. I have not done it in a long time. But so you have all of these different modalities, all of these different movements and positions that you would hold for, I don't know. Again, but the bottom line is all about, as you said earlier, relaxation, right?
For immunity, it's twofold. One, it is, yes, relaxation, invoking what's called the parasympathetic nervous system response. Mm-hmm. And the other aspect is circulation. So that's where movement is helpful in both. So we're increasing our flow, we're increasing our oxygen intake, and we're decreasing inflammation, stiffness, and toxins. So that's where the postures, yes, are very, very helpful. The postures, pose, the Sanskrit word is asana. Asana, we do asanas. And asana, its true meaning and definition means steady and spacious seat. So if we were going to say, what is the pose is seated, spine in its natural curves. So the energy can move upright, uninhibited. Now, if the body is stiff, it has toxins in it, it's not, it doesn't have enough mobility, it's not spacious, it doesn't have enough steadiness, it's not, it's not anchored or strong, you can't sit. So I'm answering in layers here. Mm-hmm. It's all about the seat. Mm-hmm. And the postures enable you to be able to sit. We want a body in pain is not a body that's conducive to a calm mind. So to access that next level of what's happening in the mind, for many of us, we need to stabilize and comfort the body. So we hope that every posture we do has a certain amount of steady and spacious. And that depends on who we are in the journey we're on, and it's different for every person. So I can see even, in the Tai Chi, this aspect, we are moving energy through the body. We are healing the body as we circulate it, increasing circulation, decreasing inflammation, steadying and creating spaciousness. Yet it's not necessarily all about making poses just right. Mm-hmm. It's about creating a balance within you where you are equal on both steady and spacious. Every section of the book, Yoga to Support Immunity, has poses. First section is for getting steady and clear in the body and reducing pain. So there is a lot of how do we support the spine? Within that, you're supporting your lungs and your internal organs. The second section is how do we clear out the body, clear out the mind and the heart. Mm-hmm. So what is held emotions, thoughts and emotions in the body? It's tension. How do we clear that tension? And so there's poses, there's also pranayamas and kriyas. Kriyas are, as you know, from Yogananda, Paramahamsa, who is also the lineage of the yoga that I share, is directly related to Yogananda Paramahamsa. So here we are all family. So those kriyas are how do we release the tension as well as the physical toxins out of the body so we can sit. And then the final portion of the book is integration. So how do we, on a daily basis, just like we eat and we eliminate every day, how are we eating with our mind, eating with our body, eating with our energy, and how are we eliminating and doing that on a daily, repetitive nature? Because it is what we do every day that is going to make the biggest difference. It's not that hour and a half, 2 hour sweaty practice that we did once a month or something like that. It's what you're doing 3 minutes here, 2 minutes there throughout your day. So the book really has a lot to do with habits and repetition.
I find this all extremely fascinating and interesting to consider these different modalities, and I hope that you do too, folks. Melanie Salvatore-August is my guest. Yoga to Support Immunity, Mind, Body. Breathing Guide to Whole Health. That's the conversation we're having. And there's the book right there, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself a copy. Go to her website. And by the way, that website, as soon as I pop over here, it just happens to be, MelanieSalvatoreAugust.com. And just so you know, Melanie, we will be connected and linked to your website, both on the website as well as SoundCloud, and also on the video YouTube that people will be able to watch. They will see the link there up above you as well. So we hope that people will go to your website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. We are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true as we come your way each week with programs that we hope inform and educate and enlighten. As I mentioned, we are on YouTube. YouTube channel is Tell Me Your Story. Surprise, surprise. Just look for the guy with the black, pardon me, with the dirty black hat. I'm looking at getting a new one, but, well, you know, us guys, Melanie, we like to hold on to what feels comfortable.
It looks good. It's working.
We also encourage you to go and subscribe to the podcast as well as to the YouTube channel. And the podcasts are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry. We are also on iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, as well as a bunch of other locations. And as of this broadcast, Melanie, I don't know. I don't know what this number means. All I know is I'm excited that in 3.5 years that we've been posting to SoundCloud and all these other locations, we have 44,500 listens. 44,500 listens. I'm just glad people are listening and enjoying these programs and these podcasts and these videocasts because I certainly do. We also encourage people who are moved by they feel a resonance with what we are talking about, I would hope that they would consider the possibility of supporting the work that we are doing here on Tell Me Your Story. We do have a PayPal account for your security as well as ours, and all you have to do is go to PayPal, type in my email address, richard@richarddugan.com, send us whatever you can. We are ever so grateful for every penny, every dollar that comes in that supports the work we're doing, because obviously hosting, the website hosting and the SoundCloud there's an expense there, and the processing and on and on and on. Fortunately, it's not that expensive, but nonetheless, we are grateful for those of you who do that. And we also encourage you, and here's an area we're going to get into too. I really want to talk about this, and then we'll get into some more of these positions that, again, everybody's different, so how you hold it is going to be an individual thing. But we also encourage people to participate, Melanie, in the Decade of Perfect Vision, the 2020s. We ask people to go within, to spend time in that still, quiet, calm, peaceful place, listening to the still, small voice, that intuition that will give you inspiration, encouragement, it'll give you guidance, it'll give you support, it'll allow you to relax and rejuvenate, re-energize. The relaxation part is the best part of all, because that helps your immune system, which is what we're talking about here on Tell Me Your Story. As we talk more about the work that our very special guest has joined us here on the program, Melanie, I beg your pardon, Salvatore-August, and the book that we are talking about is Yoga to Support Immunity. And we certainly hope that you will consider this Mind, Body, Breathing Guide to Whole Health. I want to ask you a question in regards to the aspect, especially of what I mentioned earlier about intuition, about that still small voice. Now, I felt very comfortable when the Tai Chi instructor said the things that he did to me about don't try to follow the others, because you're new at this. There's no way that you're going to be able to get it on the first day. Let the music flow through you and just move to the music. And it felt right. I have had intuitive guidance that has told me, you need to turn left up here, or you need to turn right up here. No kidding. And I fought it for a half mile, and I ended up turning back and then going the way I was guided to go.
Yeah.
Don't know why. All I know is that I did it. And the more I do that, the more I trust. And then I don't even have to think about it. It's like, oh, okay. It's just the impression comes and boom, I'm going to turn left. What about that aspect of the yoga practice?
It's a huge aspect of it. It's a huge aspect. And the key things that I want to highlight with what you share is trust, is repetition. Like you've learned to trust, and you've learned to listen, right? So you've had experience with it. And we used to call it a yoga practice. It's a practice because we do it over and over again. And it's that practice of tuning in. So why do we do the poses? Yes, strengthen the body, help us not be in pain. What does pain cloud? Pain can absolutely cloud our ability to hear. What are we hearing? Our inner wisdom, our intuition. So it's like, I love the image of a lake, right? And the lake water is very still. You can see all the way to the bottom. You can see it's clear or hear, depending on what you're talking about, how you intuit. Some of us hear, some of us see, some of us feel. I think we all do all of them, but maybe we have something that's a little stronger. My question to all of you who are listening, what is it? Do you hear? Do you see? Do you feel? Do you do them all? So that lake is clear, and we can see if the lake, the waves and the water is moving. And I liken that to the mind. If the mind's going all over the place, your body hurts, the emotions are kind of bouncing. You can't. It's harder. Let's say it's harder to hear. It's harder to intuit. So the poses are very much a tool, one of the tools to calm the mind, to make the lake clear. So you can hear or see or feel what you need to. Why are you here? What is your soul's calling? This is what we're yoking to, our essential self, the one that doesn't change, the one that observes, the one that's leaning in to listen. Everything else is changeable. Our body's changeable. Our energy is changeable. Our mind, oh dear Lord, thank goodness, our mind is changeable. Our emotions, they're flowing in the wind, right? All of that is changeable. Our bank account, our relationships, right? You name it.
Yeah.
What stays the same? So that is the core of the yogic philosophy, Purusha, which is non-changing aspect, being, soul, whatever you want to call it, and Prakriti, everything that has the elements that is constantly in shift and changing. So yes, the poses, essential to intuition and everything else too.
Now, I have kind of observed as I was going through my Reiki training, the 3 levels that I went through to become a Reiki master. And of course, I still have the printouts because sometimes I have to refer back because
Sure.
and actually, I take that back. I don't actually refer back to it. I actually just, sometimes I may not, do the proper hand positions and all of this kinds of thing. Sometimes I may just put my hands upright, palms up or palms out, or maybe I'm sitting in the car, in the truck, and I'm kind of aware of something that I need to support. So I'll just start, I'll see the image of the symbol. I will utter in my mind the word, the key word, and I'll just send it in that respect. I'm not in the position. And it's the same thing with yoga. And there are so many different types of yoga. And this is sort of a sidebar here. What do you think about some of these, how do I put it, faddish versions of yoga? Hot yoga, goat yoga. I think there's even cat yoga.
I love it. I think anything that's there's many ways up the mountain. And any tool that's going to help someone be more connected to their heart, their consciousness, and help them feel better and therefore do better in the world with their human family and their earth. Great. There's this wonderful, and I'm sure you're familiar with the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So it's a very, very old, thousands of year old wisdom text. Seminal text of the yoga tradition. And there it lovely, it names, it's like you can do this and you can try this for meditation and this and this and this. And then at the end it says, or whatever works.
Yeah.
Or whatever works. I feel like here we have the structure, and the humans that came before us, those who were masterful, who had the experience, who had the desire to lay it down for others, be like, hey, there's a good path here, try it. It's just one way. And it's to support when the natural flow is not there. But if the natural flow is there, I feel like it's technique when inspiration fails, or inspiration's not there, or whatever, to align. It's just a tool to get back on track. There are many tools.
It's unfortunate that we don't have that same mindset when it comes to the various philosophies and paths to God, the universal power, the divinity, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of came up with the analogy that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of different foods that we have the great pleasure to try. The different beverages, different drinks that we can drink, from water on up. and so forth. All of the various and myriad combinations of fruits and vegetables and grains and on and on and on and on. Delicious ales and mead and wine and juices and so forth. Educational endeavors that we could choose to go any direction we want in our lives. Relationships, opposite sex, same sex, monogamous, polyamory, and the list goes on, have no kids, have 500 kids, God forbid. And again, and of course, the list goes on of all of the things that we can have in our lives, but there's only one way to God. There's only one way. And I'm going, that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
It never did. And that's why when I left the Christian radio station back in 1995, I was labeled as a casualty of Christian radio because I didn't toe the party line. I didn't want to toe the party line. I've often said if you want to emblazon a big H on my forehead for heretic, I will wear it proudly because I still have questions. I probably have some answers, but they beg more questions, which facilitates the phrase that was given to me when I was 21, thinking of being just a little too big for the britches. It is better to begin in doubt and end in certainty than to begin in certainty and end in doubt. And what you said earlier about the poses and the positions and the forms of yoga, whether it's hot yoga, cat yoga, goat yoga, guinea pig yoga, whatever the form is. I will not do anvil yoga, but that's a whole other thing. That's for the weightlifters. Find what serves you. Find what works for you. And if it doesn't serve you anymore, stop doing it. Whether it's yoga or a philosophy or a vocational or work path or even a relationship, as hard as that might seem, you know, your well-being, and this I think ties into a lot of what you're talking about, is that we stay in situations amidst those various topics that I just listed because we're afraid, because it's what's expected of us, because it's what we're comfortable with. We don't want to rock the boat, and yet you've already stated the one thing that we have got to learn to love and embrace and cherish, and basically use the phrase, bring it on, and that's change.
Mm-hmm.
That's change.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You know, what all that you say, it brings me back to, you know, that primary relationship, you and you. Mm-hmm. Are you listening to your body? Is it a friendly relationship?
Oh.
Are you disregarding your body? Did you make a decision years ago that you're clinging to and you're attached to, that is an idea of what you think you should be? And, you know, in the yoga tradition, there is a wonderful recipe. I like food. As soon as you start talking food, I leaned in like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cooking, my house. Yes. Okay.
I'm coming over.
I'm coming over. Something good. So there's always something good. But this aspect of what's called abhyasa and vairagya. And what that is, it's a recipe, 2 ingredients. The one ingredient is consistency. It's consistency. Mm-hmm. It's repetition, right? And it's keep going. And I will add that aspect of like, keep doing your best. Mm-hmm. Keep accessing your kindness. Keep inquiring to listen to yourself, right? Just keep going. Don't give up. But the other side, the piece of the recipe is non-attachment or a passive disregard. So yeah, I'm going to keep going, but I'm not going to grip it. I call it keep going. Oh, well, it's time to change. That is the end of that course. I'm going to continue to show up. I'm here. I'm present. I keep if I keep coming back, but yet I'm going to let go of where I think it should be going. Because otherwise, if I am gripping this consistency, I will stress myself out. So on so many levels, I will distort. I will create disharmony. So just keep showing up and detach. Let it go.
I'm here with Melanie Salvatore-August. We are talking yoga for your immune system, if you will. This is Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you so much for staying with us here as we continue our conversation with Melanie Salvatore-August. And we certainly hope that you take to heart the words that she says. I have to say that your example is epitomized by my analogy of these programs and what we do. Now, I'm going to go back to food, so you're going to end up leaning in again. Can't escape that. And that has to do with the fact that we lay out a smorgasbord. We lay out this huge, huge table. Okay? Every time we do a program, there's more on the table. And we ask you, the listener, the viewer, to come to the table and to take what resonates with you, what tastes good, all right? And then you walk away and enjoy that. Savor it. Grok it from Stranger in a Strange Land. Assimilate it into every subatomic particle of your being if it resonates with you. Don't if it doesn't. It'll make you sick, okay? Don't want that. The point is to bolster your immune system, to keep you healthy. But then come back. Come back to the table next time and try something new, you know? And again, if it doesn't taste good, then don't. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't serve you, if you don't resonate with it, just leave it alone, okay? Find something that does. And walk away and savor it and grok it. And keep doing that. That's how we grow. That's education. That's wisdom that we start to build, isn't it, Melanie?
Yes, 100%. And there's an embodiment of that, right? The more you do it, the more you trust it, the more you're listening when you say, what feels good. To each of us, again, to lean in, when you hear something, mental, emotionally, right? And you have a response to it. Do you feel more expansive?
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's more possibility? Or do you feel more restricted? And where do you feel that in the body? That's where the energetics, the chakra system and whatnot, so fascinating, right? Because certain thoughts, emotions, they will resonate in different areas of the body. It's fascinating. So to just listen, do you feel it in your gut? Do you feel it in your belly? Do you feel your throat open? Do you feel warm and tingly?
Yeah.
So just listen. And the more you do it, the more you repeat that leaning in and listening with a certain curiosity of detachment, the more you'll learn to trust it. Therefore, being deeper into your intuition and getting the cues, earlier.
Yeah.
Earlier. So you don't have to actually go three streets away and have to come back. You actually get it before you hit the road and you're like, oh, look, I'm going to take a right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm on it.
Yoga to Support Immunity is the title of the book. Melanie Salvatore-August is my guest, and Melanie Salvatore-August is the website.com at the end of all of that. We will be linked to that website, and we certainly hope that people will go to your website to continue their evolutionary process. As we continue here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, I'm Richard Dugan, along with my very special guest here on the program, who is, can I use the word yogini? Is that appropriate?
Sure, you can use the word yogini.
I mean,
sure.
No. I can use it, but is it appropriate?
Appropriate. I am definitely relate to the feminine aspect of a yogi. So yeah,
we'll go there. Okay, absolutely. Because it to me, I always find the names interesting, and I always thought, boy, that would be interesting to have a name like that. I remember back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. I actually considered changing my name. And it was based upon the name of a character, if you will, of an animal in the book, Paramahansa Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And in the story of the Tiger Swami, where the Tiger Swami took on the tiger by the name of Raja Begum, princess. And for, I guess, a couple of years, the people I was associating with at that time knew me as Raja. And it kind of fit. I didn't obviously change my name, but I still resonate with that from time to time. And I find that it's real interesting that people, they will change themselves over the course of time, sometimes physically, sometimes, again, maybe there will be a name change. Have you ever felt that maybe it doesn't sound right? I don't feel like a Melanie.
Sure.
I feel like some other name and so forth. Or the way I look, I don't care for this aspect of me. I'd like to change it a little bit. And again, I used to be critical of people who wanted to go in for cosmetic surgery, but then I began to realize that, and again, this is for people who do not have their personal self-confidence, that they do this, and that if it makes them feel better and more confident in themselves, then I say more power to you. I mean, it kind of goes along with that whole aspect you talked about earlier in regards to change. Change that serves you.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we're also looking at the essential foundational how, or the intention, where there's not an intention to do harm. That's one of the first kind of aspects of the yoga philosophy is ahimsa, non-harming, right? So this aspect, and also this understanding of what is truth, that, satya it's ahimsa and satya, and as we work into these tenets of yoga. And what I hear is that if we are connected into our essential truth, the Bhagavad Gita, it says that our life or our personality is like a sweater, and we can take that off, right? So our essential being is our essential being, and so I'm talking to the personality known as Richard right now, and you're talking to, in this lifetime, the personality known as Mel, and I can take off Mel, right? And so for whatever reason in this lifetime, I've come to a more default awareness that I have Mel on, but I'm more than Mel. There's more than me than Mel. So when that became very clear for me, and it was over a set of years that suddenly my default went from identifying with Mel. I started once I went into my teens that I was Mel, and I was trying to be Mel, whoever Mel was. And be the best Mel I could, and Mel needs to be pretty, and Mel needs to fit into a size 8 jean or whatever it is. And then it slowly morphed to I can take off Mel. I'm not attached to Mel, and now to this place of like I'm not attached to Mel, but I like Mel. I'm happy to have Mel in this lifetime, right? So it's a journey into that. Maybe that's too esoteric and no, too hard to follow. But I believe that there is a journey back to self, and our yoga practice or whatever practice that brings you back to a sense of truth in self.
I have a hard time when people who know me really well, and I've been around them for a long, long time, and then they call me. Usually they don't need to. They just come up to me and start talking to me because they know who I am. They know I'm Richard. But it's when they use my name, Richard, it's kind of like throwing me back to my childhood, and I've done something I shouldn't have done. What is it? What? It's a little unnerving. Sure. But I'm not interested necessarily. I would add Raja to my name. I wouldn't necessarily change it. I would probably add it, or AKA kind of thing, that type of thing. I want to let you folks know yoga to support immunity is to empower everyday people to use yoga daily, daily habits to boost immunity, longevity, functions, and just simply to be happier. Now, isn't it exciting, Mel, that we have this opportunity to have life, liberty, and happiness as it's found? Oh, wait a minute, no. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Oh, man, we don't get happiness. We have to pursue it, don't we?
Well, I guess it depends on what mindset, what sweater you're wearing.
There you go.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah. But it's still, it's a wonderful thing to find that space of happiness as especially we have these programs and we try to keep it very positive here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, along with Mel Salvatore-August, and the book is entitled, of course, Yoga to Support Immunity. We hope that you will get a copy and go to her website, which is Melanie Salvatore-August.com. We will be linked to your website, Mel, so that people can find out more about you, find out more about the work that you're doing, get a copy of your book as well. You do coaching?
I do. I do all virtual, so anywhere in the world, and I'm online with Yoga Works at home. So yoga studio. Our yoga studio has been around for a very long time, and all the teachers are fantastic. So I teach live streaming almost every day. So you can practice with me, you can work with coaching with me, I'm here to be of service. My life has been deeply shifted and changed from these practices, and when I share them with others, it actually helps increase my own healing. So, I'm very thankful for that exchange.
Where did you first learn about yoga, and was it, if you will, love at first sight? Was it said, I got to go this way? Or did it take time to kind of germinate, if you will, ruminate?
It did. And I was very young. I was preteens, and it was actually through meditation and through the little section of the bookstore in Pittsburgh, PA, in my little strip mall, and it said New Age, and so I was like, and the one area beside it said occult, which that felt naughty. So I was like, oh gosh, being 12 and a book on meditation. So I started to learn about energy, meditation, use of mantra, shifting the mind when I was really pretty young. Then the yoga poses when I was in my 20s in New York, and I was deeply depressed and anxious and not being very nice to myself at a time in my life. And so I'd wandered into a yoga class where they're doing poses, and the little bit of moment at the end of the practice where you lay down, right? And of course my fingers are tapping like, oh, what are we doing here laying down? I'm so anxious. But something happened where, probably was just 1 minute, maybe even one breath, but I quieted. My mind quieted, and I could see down through the water. And that just kept me coming back. And then it started to increase. And it took many years before my default shifted, where I practiced so much repetition that I would stay more in a harmonious state. Now, I'm a mom of 3. We have a busy house. Like, my kids would be like, Mom, you're upset. You're not peaceful, for sure. But the time of coming back, right? The time of coming back to okay, what is the big picture? What is important? And how am I in the flow state or connect back to it is a lot less than it used to be.
Well, we are just about here ready to wrap up this particular conversation. Would love to talk more with you about some of the other things that you are doing through the website and the work that you've been doing for, I don't know how many years, but it's obviously been long enough to where you are helping other people as well. You are giving them a hand up. Some would say paying it forward, whatever term you want to use. And we are very grateful for that fact. I do have three final questions that I ask all of my guests before we wrap up the program. Before we do that, again, I want to thank you, Mel, for joining us here on the program. It's been a great pleasure to get to know you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Before I do the final three questions portion of our program, let me tell you or express my thanks to you for listening and watching. Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for the special edition of Tell Me Your Story, as well as the podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, as well as iHeart and Amazon Music. We also encourage you to go to YouTube. The Tell Me Your Story channel is on YouTube, where you can watch the interviews. I hope that you will do that. Subscribe to the podcasts and videocasts as well. And we also ask if you like what we're bringing you, the guests we're bringing you, the subjects that we're bringing you, and you'd like to become a part of the work that we are doing by supporting us financially, we'd be ever so grateful. PayPal account is there for your security as well as ours, and all you have to do is send us the funds through using my email address, richard@richarddugan.com. That's that simple, and any amount is gratefully appreciated. We'll take energetic support as well. We also ask you to participate in the Decade of Perfect Vision, the 2020s. Spend that time in that still, quiet, calm, peaceful place, listening to that voice, that divine voice, if you will, that still small voice. I didn't want to use the word still twice, but I can't get away from it. And we hope that you will listen to and follow the promptings. And I say this tongue-in-cheek, folks. If you're going to listen and not follow, what's the point of listening? So trust that that voice is there to help you and to guide you and move you forward. And with that said, now we move on to our the final portion of our game show, where we ask our contestants three final questions, where each question is worth 500 points. I've never done this before like that, but it could be fun. First question that I have for you is, who is Melanie Salvatore-August?
A being of light.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you are doing now?
Help and support others connecting to their light.
And finally, what is your life's purpose?
To help others and to continue to remember my light and share it.
Melanie Salvatore-August, thank you again for joining us here on the program and sharing with us the work that you do through the book that you have out right now, Yoga to Support Immunity, and you have other books as well, other conversations that we will have down the road, and I thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for all the work you do.
And I thank you for listening and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to lol.